Does your anger feel like it goes from 0 to 100 miles an hour, or like it comes out of nowhere? If it does, stick around, because I'm going to talk about why that happens and what you can do to prevent that from happening in the future. Hey everyone, I'm Cody Mitz. I'm a licensed professional counselor and I specialize in anger management counseling. And today I'm going to talk about one of the most important things that you need to know if you really want to be able to control your anger. Now, if you like what you hear in this video, we hope that you'll give it a thumbs up or leave some comments in the section down below. And of course, subscribe if you'd like to get some more great videos from us. Now, one of the things that you need to really understand if you want to be able to control your anger is what's known as your emotional arousal system. And we're going to talk about specifically anger, so I'm probably going to refer to it as your anger arousal system. Now, if you're wondering what I mean when I say your emotional arousal system, all I'm talking about is the way that your emotions are designed to fluctuate or go in waves. So one of the problems that a lot of people have who are struggling with anger is that they misunderstand how their emotions, or specifically how the emotion of anger works. So one of the common beliefs is that this emotion just turns on or off. So if you feel like your anger just goes 0 to 100 and you don't have time to stop it, part of the problem is that you're misunderstanding how your emotional arousal system works. Now, in order to understand how the emotional arousal system works, we really need to learn some basic emotional awareness skills. Now, when I say emotional awareness, I'm just talking about understanding how your emotions work. There's some great books out there. You can read a book called Emotional Intelligence, which really just helps you understand what are emotions, what are their function, what are their role, why are they a part of our life, because that's a huge part of really being able to understand anger and being able to manage anger in a really healthy way. As an anger management counselor, I have people who come into my office all the time and say things like, my anger just catches me off guard, I don't know what to do with it, and they want to know what are the tips, what are the tricks that I can teach them so that when they're about to lose control, or so when their anger feels like it's at this really high level, that they can have some kind of trick that they can use to bring themselves back down. Now, the problem with that is, again, we're misunderstanding how this emotion works, because there's not really a trick, there's not really a tip that I can teach you. What I would say instead is there's a skill that you can learn to be able to manage your anger in a more healthy way. Part of that skill is, again, one, understanding how your emotional system works, how it goes up and down, being aware of it, and really knowing what to do with it. So to get a better idea of what I mean by our emotional arousal system, let's take a look at some examples and some of the ways that people assume that our emotions function, some of the errors that you might be making, and give you a better idea of what we're trying to accomplish. So what I want to show you here is 3 examples of some misconceptions, some of the problems that happen with our anger emotional arousal system, and then ultimately what it is that we're trying to accomplish. So in example number 1, this is a good idea, a good visual of what a lot of people assume we're trying to accomplish with anger management, or come into my office hoping that this is what they can accomplish. Basically, as you can see here, the idea is they want their emotions to be very flat. They want to be able to turn off maybe the emotion of anger because it feels like a scary, unhealthy thing. And so the assumption is that good anger management is about just kind of repressing the anger, making sure that you don't show it. The problem here is that we really can't turn off our emotions. We really can't turn off the emotion of anger. And so this actually is going to cause a lot of problems, and maybe one of the problems that you're struggling with anger right now. In the second example, this is where a lot of people are at when they come into anger management at the beginning. So as you can see here, similar to number 1, people in this category are trying again to repress or hold back or stuff your anger. The problem is that you do that and that emotion just slowly builds and builds and builds. At some point, you have to let out that feeling. You can't hold it in anymore. And that's where you have this big spike. So your anger comes out. Again, it feels like it goes from 0 to 100, or it feels like it just comes out of nowhere. So you have this major spike in the emotion, and it might go back down, and then sometimes there's another long period in between, and then you have another spike. So you have another incident, you explode, you do something that you wouldn't normally do, and then again, that emotion subsides. And sometimes there can be really long periods, from weeks to months, maybe even years in between these big spikes. Sometimes these spikes can happen very close to each other, but the main idea is, again, I'm trying to hold back, I'm trying to stuff this emotion, and then it just surprises me out of nowhere. So the third example here is what we're actually trying to accomplish. As you can see, we want our emotions to work more like a wave. So there's going to be things that irritate me, there's going to be things that frustrate me, but I'm able to keep it at a level that feels controllable. In this example here, I'm not trying to turn off my emotion. I'm learning how to let this emotion be healthy. I'm learning how to regulate it. I'm learning how to control it without letting it have these major spikes. So again, the phrase or the word that I like to use a lot is I want this emotion to go in waves. There's going to be some fluctuation up and down on a regular basis. This right here is going to help you be a lot more successful with your anger. Now, hopefully that gives you a better idea, a visual of what it is that we're really trying to accomplish when we talk about your anger arousal system. And the main idea that I want you to take away is that you really want to let your emotions fluctuate on a regular basis in a healthy way. Now you might be wondering, okay, great, now that I have a better understanding or idea of my emotional arousal system, what do I start to do with it? And this is where those skills come in that I talked about earlier. So when you're talking about anger, I want you to think of it more as a skill that I need to learn to be able to regulate this system in a healthy way. Some practices that can be really helpful with that can be things like mindfulness or meditation. Mindfulness and meditation really teaches you how to be aware of what you're feeling, be aware of what your body's doing, be aware of what your mind is doing, being in tune with some of the physical cues like your heart rate, your breathing, and helps you understand how this arousal system is kind of going up and down on a daily basis. So those can be some great ways for you to begin practicing some of the skills that you'll need to regulate this system in a healthy way. Another helpful thing is what I call anger awareness. So it's learning to be aware of your anger as it's fluctuating on a daily basis. So if the goal is not to repress it, it's not to stuff it, it's more to be aware of it. So you want to understand, what does it look like? What does it feel like when you're frustrated, when you're irritated, when you're annoyed? Because it's important that you recognize those little signs of anger so that you can deal with it when it's at a healthy level, when it's at a place where you can still control it and you can still do something with it without it feeling out of your control. And the third thing I would suggest is go and start doing some research. Start understanding how your emotions function, but also specifically how does your anger function. So again, we really want to understand how this emotion works, because if you understand how it works, you can change what it's doing in your life. So it's not really about a trick. So if people tell you, well, just step back, take a deep breath, sometimes they mean well, but those sometimes aren't going to be enough to help you with what you need. So go start doing some research, start understanding how this emotion works in your life. To help you with that, we have some free resources which you can check out down in the description below. One of them is a free online support group that you can join. There you'll get all sorts of resources, different articles that we'll share, some of our videos as they come out, we'll post them on there. And you're just going to be in a community of other people who who are working on the same thing as you. So you can get some support, you can ask some questions, and you can really start to try and understand this emotion. Now, we also have a free ebook which you can download, which is going to teach you the 5 things that you need to know about anger management. And that's going to give you the basic skills that you need to develop. It's going to help you understand some of those basic things that will be very helpful as you're learning about this emotion. Go out there, find some books, find some resources. You can check out our website. We do anger management counseling here at our counseling center. So you can check out our website about some of the other things that we have on there. If you want to talk to a therapist, you can always give us a call or contact us online. But we hope that these will be some helpful ways for you to begin understanding the emotion of anger. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. We'll answer those questions, and we'll put out some future videos to answer the questions that seem to come up the most often.